Vultures on YouTube. I'm going to talk about them. It usually takes me a very short time to figure somebody out, but some people, they take a bit longer. And even when you think you got there, even when you think you figured somebody out, there's sometimes a little bit more that you can figure out. I want to talk about Justin Lee. When I made the first video on him, I thought this is going to be the first and last, and then I'm going to be on my way and, not ever mention him again. Justin Lee, I don't know if that's his real name or if that's just the name of his channel, because people keep coming to me and telling me about him. As one person in particular keeps telling me about Justin, and I keep getting messages about Justin doing this, Justin doing that, Justin doing this. And I kind of roll my eyes, but I always try to respond to my subscribers because I think that's the courteous thing to do. And I have individual conversation with my subscribers. I interact with you. I try to answer questions. There usually isn't a comment that I won't follow up on. Usually, I'm not perfect, but I try to engage with my subscribers. I think it's the right thing to do. Somebody is speaking to you, and somebody is inquiring from you, and somebody is engaging with you. As a subscriber, I think it's important that you're able to give feedback to your audience. So anyway, Justin Lee, this guy has a lot of issues. And let me just say this. I think Justin has a ton of charisma. I think he's adorable in some ways. I think he has a lot of charm. And I've told him that. We've had conversations, so he knows what I think in that regard. He's adorable. And he has a lot of swagger. He's got a lot of charm. He's kind of ghetto in some ways. There's also a rawness about him. Rawness, like a raw type of honesty about him that I like. But I also think that there's part of him that is manipulative with the superficial charm. That's my opinion. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's no fool when it comes to Shanann. I think that he doesn't like Shanann, obviously. And instead of talking about what Chris Watts did to his family and what Chris Watts did to his children by putting them in oil tanks, which is by far worse than anything that Shanann ever did in her lifetime, I think he's venting his anger and frustration or feelings of hatred towards Shanann. And I think that's disgusting and disgraceful as far as I'm concerned. Now, I have been called a shiner. I've been called a shiner. And everyone in the Watts community knows what a shiner means. I'm not a shiner. And I'm not on any side. And I'm not a spokesperson for Frankie Jr.'s family, the Reacts. No, I'm not. I speak from my own point of view, and I am fair, balanced, and objective in my point of view. There's no question that Shanann was an imperfect human being. She was human. But I don't think that it's right to defame, dehumanize her, and degrade her. She's a murder victim. Think about your own families. Think about if someone that you love got murdered. Would you like to see them being dehumanized the way that Shanann is online? I think it's a disgrace that this is still going on. I've said it before and I'll say it again, and people are not going to like this. I don't think that the Reacts are going to be able to get AD in court, which is upsetting because I think what he does is absolutely wrong. But he's not the worst of them. He actually is not the worst. I think what Justin is doing is almost like he went to the school of Mensa and set the record straight. Although he has a lot more charm than Miss Mensa does. He's a lot more likable than Miss Mensa. And men can get away with a lot more than a woman can. In some ways, not always. Sometimes a woman can get away with a lot more, and sometimes a man can get away with a lot more. In this instance, he can get a lot more away with what he's doing than Miss Mensah does. But what he's doing is wrong. And to continue bashing. Look, I knew he was going to blow up after he started talking about Chris Watts. I said so. And I knew what he was going to do. I knew he was going to go on this path of degrading Shanann because it gets him attention. And that's what he wants. And I understand that. Like I said, he's not somebody that I completely dislike. He has a lot of charm. I think he's even intelligent. And I can see where he gets his logic from. And I also have to understand that from a man, as a man, he's a man, I'm a woman. And we are going to speak from our own perspectives. Like, for example, I have a friend and she has had experiences in life that will filter through into her opinions. And I cannot say that she can't have an opinion just because it doesn't jive with my opinion. She's had her own experiences and we speak from our own experiences. A lot of what our beliefs are, a lot of how we, a lot of what we believe and how we think comes from our own experiences as human beings. So he's had his experiences. Whether he's telling the truth about all of his experiences, I don't know, because I think he's a manipulator. But I do understand still that as a man, he's had his own experiences with women. And so his point of view looking at this case is going to be different from mine, and it's going to be different from somebody else's. And his experiences are going to affect his judgment. Whether his judgment is right or wrong, it's not about that so much, but it is going to be his experiences in life and his experiences with women in particular is going to factor into his opinions. But I just think, and I'm not saying that he can't have his own opinion, I just think that the Shanann bashing is wrong. You just don't do that to a murder victim. It's disgraceful. Justin comes to my channel and he's really nice to me. He's really sweet to me. How do I put it? He's really nice to me. I can't ever say that he's been rude to me, that he's been nasty to me. He's been a sweetheart to me. He really has. And like I said, it's a conflicting feeling because there is part of me that really likes him and just finds him really entertaining. But there's another side of me that thinks this guy is really warped. And I don't know him well enough to know whether he's telling the truth about his childhood experiences. If he is telling the truth, then I feel really sorry that he went through all of that. And if he's making it up just for clicks and views, then shame on him. I know that he's bashing Shanann for clicks and views. And I knew that his channel was going to blow up because no one was interested before he did the Watts case. But let me tell you something. That doesn't mean that he had nothing to offer before that. I watched videos that he did before that and I love them. There's some great prison stories that he's told. And he is, like I said, there's so many things about him that I like and that I find adorable. Even though I disagree with what he's doing completely with regard to Shanann, he is very, very charming. There's no question. And I knew that his channel would blow up because he has that charm. And I think some of it is superficial, but some of it is also genuine. And let's deal with some of the things that he said about his childhood. His father dying when he was young, his mother being an alcoholic, living in a trailer, all that stuff. That can really affect somebody in a lot of ways. That's a lot of childhood trauma. And then when you add the other stuff that he's talked about, which I won't mention on my channel because I don't go there on my channel. But when you go into the other stuff, the abuse stuff, which like I said, I'm not going to go deeply into on my channel, and I would need to speak to him about that more in a more deeper manner and a more personal manner. When you factor in what he said about his childhood, then that can be really damaging to a person. Because I see psycho in him. I see as charming as he is and as likable as he is, and I admit he's very likable. I don't like what he's doing with regard to Shanann, but he's very likable in other ways. So like I said, it's a conflicting feeling. On one hand, I think he's just fantastic, and then on another hand, I think he's a disgrace. So it's a very conflicting feeling. But what he said about his childhood, all of that can be really damaging to a person psychologically. And that can affect what he's doing with his channel. And that can affect what he's doing with regard to Shanann. And I think that there's some psycho stuff going on there. I mean, it's weird. I could completely trash him and say that he's just a horrible, terrible person. But no, I don't believe that he is just a horrible, terrible person. I believe what he's doing with regard to Shanann is terrible. But, there is another side that's very, very likable. And I think that there is something that he seems to have against women. And he doesn't respect women enough, as far as I'm concerned. The way he's talked about Nicole Kessinger, the way he's talked about Shanann, the way he's talked about Nicole Atkinson. I don't know if that's because of maybe he had a difficult relationship with his mother, a difficult relationship with the women that he's dated. But there's something wrong. There's something warped about how he thinks. And not just about the Watts case, but other things that he said. But I don't want this to be something where I'm just bashing somebody, because I think he has a lot of positive attributes as well. And I completely understand why people are drawn to him, because he does have that thing. He does have that special something, that charm that draws you to him. I mean, I completely admit that. And this was never going to be a bash fest, because people are a lot more complex than just being completely good or completely bad. And I know that better than anyone, or better than most. Most people are not just completely bad or completely good, and that includes Shanann. But I just think what he's doing with regard to Shanann is completely distasteful. And I'm not friends with you anymore, Justin, for what you're doing with regard to Shanann.